Life's too short. Life's too important. There's too much stuff going on where we have to be cognizant of what is going on, that we're going to justify things or validate things in our life based off of how we feel. And then we're going to fix that with other things. Okay, now I want to move on to the question that I was posed. Now that weed is legal, how does the church view it? I'm just going to throw this out there. If you have to ask, I'll leave that one up to you. If you have to ask. But I went through and I thought, okay, let me think through what this is. Because then there's the whole, and the hard part is the information, most don't know all of it, but like CBD oil, what THC is. So CBD oil, great. Here's what's crazy. It's actually, it's become so commonplace. I actually had a chiropractor before I moved now. Our chiropractors are here. Dr. Colton, Dr. Lacey. But my back had locked up, and it was a buddy of mine from high school, and he put CBD oil on it and actually loosened my back up. But then he was like, yeah, I should use CBD oil. And I was like, what? Should you not have said something? Just throwing that out there. But, so I'm learning also, but THC is that hallucinogen or that hyper psychotic part of what is in weed, what makes you feel what you feel to get that high. So I then posed the question as I'm going through this cognitive thought process in, is weed immoral? Or is smoking weed immoral? Or is it wrong? And it's the whole thought process of if A equals X and B and A have these same qualities, does B still equal X? So for instance, in this process, I thought, okay, if being drunk is wrong and drinking alcohol gets to that, there's a certain level that you have to get to be considered drunk. The state actually tells us what that is. It's what you are allowed to consume and still get behind a vehicle and drive. So there's that. So insert marijuana into this or THC, and the thought process was, could you, and I would say I really battled through this because, like I said, all through high school and college, I was building my testimony. And I took a victory lap in college, 5th year. Those of you that finish it in 4, doesn't make sense. Why not have some fun? But I smoked a lot of weed, I'm going to be honest. I smoked a lot. And so I started to think, okay, how many puffs does it take before you start to feel something? That was my thought process. Because here's the hard part. The people that are for it, no, I'm telling you, this deep, dark hole I went down was special. But in Genesis, and this is the argument to most about their pro the marijuana was, in Genesis where it says that you could eat any plant that produces a seed to the benefit and nourishment of you. And so that's the thought process behind it. But so I started thinking, how many puffs? Someone has had to think about that before. Like how many pulls you got to take off of a joint to make that work? Like that was my thought process. Come to find out, you guys are laughing, I'm not crazy. Other people have thought about this. The British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, okay? That's where we're at. So smarter people than me over there in England thought about this. So it says for alcohol, the unit of measure is the standard drink, and that's any drink that contains about 14 grams of pure alcohol, or 1.2 tablespoons of pure alcohol. And then it's saying, depending on pacing, size, the usual, intoxication occurs for an average-sized woman for 4 drinks, and then 5 for an average-sized man. But for marijuana, however, it is a much lower dosage is needed to induce the state of intoxication. Studies show that intoxication occurs at the ingestion of less than 7 milligrams of THC. That is approximately the equivalent of 4 puffs. 4. Yeah. So the people are like, oh, I'm just having a few, I'm not getting high. Not true. First off, Not true. So I'm looking at that, and for me, there was clarity in that because you have to think about, especially in society today, we look at every angle to see if something works or something doesn't, or if something's good or if something's bad, if something's okay, if something's not. But again, if you have to ask, what's the point? Life's too short. Life's too important. There's too much stuff going on where we have to be cognizant of what is going on, that we're going to justify things or validate things in our life based off of how we feel. And then we're going to fix that with other things. It just doesn't make sense. So I would ask you, what's the intention? That would be the other thing to how many puffs. So yeah, you could smoke 4 puffs from a joint and not get high, so then you're okay. But I ask you, what is your intention? Why? What is your intention, especially if it causes somebody else to stumble?